amazing.
Unreal.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you air that?
What's going to happen, though, you think?
Well, Diddy's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I think he's probably going to get
Think he's
hit
going to
up.
sing, though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters. I mean, it's a lot of it is.
But then it's just another
There's-
Epstein.
there's
It's
murder
another Ghislaine
cases.
Maxwell,
But
where
there's
somebody gets
murder
indicted and
cases.
nobody else. Indicted for trafficking kids to
Right.
no
to
one.
no one. Right. We're like, what is the next crazy thing that's going to explode in the news? Is Bill Clinton's going to have an OnlyFans? Like, what is going to happen? What is the next thing that's going to make us all go, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is going on?
It's coming. You know, it's
How
coming.
many guys were on video saying, ain't no party like a Diddy party? How many people like openly talked about being there?
LeBron?
Yeah, how about Ashton Kutcher? All these people. Like, you guys all went. You didn't see nothing?
Sean Combs is sitting in a federal detention facility right now, waiting for trial. And most people think that's where this story ends. One powerful man, one fall from grace, one more Hollywood predator finally facing consequences. But Joe Rogan has been asking a different question on his podcast. Not about Diddy, about the pattern. Because here is what Rogan noticed, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of trafficking, but he trafficked children to, according to official records, nobody. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of trafficking to, again, officially, nobody. And now Diddy is federally indicted with over 120 accusers, 25 of them minors, and thousands of hours of seized footage. So the question Joe Rogan is asking out loud, the question that might have been a very dangerous thing to ask out loud, is this. If the pattern holds, who walks away clean this time? Today we follow that question all the way up, from Diddy, through the financial gatekeepers, through the names that keep appearing in lawsuits and legal filings, all the way to the top of a structure that was designed specifically to never be seen. Everything in this video is labeled verified fact, court filing, unverified allegation. You will always know which is which. Let's get into it. Before we climb, let's establish the foundation. What is actually on the public record about Sean Combs? Diddy was arrested and federally indicted on charges including sex trafficking, racketeering, and forced labor. Federal prosecutors allege he used his power and influence to coerce victims into what the indictment describes as recorded sexual performances, known publicly as freak-offs. Over 120 people have come forward with allegations. 25 of those accusers were minors. Federal agents raided his properties in Los Angeles and Miami. They reportedly seized thousands of hours of footage from those raids. That is the documented, verified public record. That is not allegation. Those are federal charges filed by the United States government. 50 Cent produced a Netflix documentary called The Reckoning, which framed the situation with a straightforward argument. Silence makes the entire culture look complicit. He stepped into it when almost no one else would. But 50 Cent's own framing was important. He didn't present Diddy as the top of anything. He presented him as a node, a powerful, protected node inside a much larger system. And that is exactly where Joe Rogan's analysis begins. On his podcast, Joe Rogan drew a comparison that made a lot of people uncomfortable, because it was too accurate to dismiss. He pointed out the Epstein template. Someone gets indicted for trafficking at an industrial scale. Investigators find evidence of connections to powerful people across politics, entertainment, and business. And then, somehow, nobody above them ever gets charged. Epstein trafficked children. The official record lists no clients. Maxwell facilitated the operation. The official record lists no recipients. The pattern is not subtle. The person at the operational level takes the fall. The people at the top of the pyramid, the ones who used the operation, benefited from it, or enabled it, find a way to walk. Rogan then brought it directly to Diddy. Federal raids reportedly produced thousands of hours of footage from his parties. If that footage exists, and federal documents suggest it does, the question isn't just what's on it. The question is who is on it, and who has been quietly panicking about that answer for the past 2 years.
Between Diddy and Epstein, there's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of weird that the people on those videos are lecturing the rest of us about our moral failings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
What is that?
Well, I mean, part of how they deflect attention from themselves is by criticizing the morals of others.
Yes.
It's sort of like a preemptive moral strike. Those who are saying Trump is a threat to democracy are themselves actually the threat to democracy.
It feels like we're getting to a place where the rest of us know too much. Like, what happens next now that we know all this? The kidnapper's shown us his face. Like, what happens?
Well, I think if Trump wins, we can do some house cleaning and shed light on things.
Strong overlap between Diddy's footage and Epstein's client list. From a man sitting on years of private data as the owner of X. That is not a casual observation. That is a specific, informed claim. Here is the framework Rogan and former CIA officer Mike Baker keep returning to on the podcast. And it is the framework that makes sense of everything else. Diddy's parties, like Epstein's Island, were not just parties. According to this theory, they were honeypots. Controlled environments where powerful people who could not be seen doing certain things in public could do whatever they wanted, while being recorded without their knowledge. The Maria Farmer account of Epstein's New York property makes this concrete. She described looking inside a cabinet and finding monitors, security camera feeds showing every bedroom, every bathroom, every private space in the house.
You want these experiences. And so you have these guys, like a Jeffrey Epstein type guy, who works with the elite of the elite clientele. It's all movie stars, big-time politicians, world leaders, scientists, Nobel Prize winners, and they all meet together and have fascinating conversations and cocktails, and there's beautiful girls everywhere. Of course. What a great idea.
Right.
And if you're naive and you don't understand honeypots.
Here's the quote from Maria Farmer, who was one of the accusers from what was inside the house in New York.
Okay, she said, there were monitors inside this cabinet. I looked on the cameras and I saw toilet, bed, toilet. She said, visibly spooked. Like, I'm never going to use the restroom here and I'm never going to sleep here. You know what I mean? It was very obvious that they were like monitoring private moments. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Maria Farmer was the one who worked at Epstein's office in New York, I think.
And this was the house, Jamie?
Yeah, I was looking up stuff on the house. That was like what they
I wonder
found.
if the
in
house still
too.
has fucking cameras in it somewhere that they haven't found yet.
They definitely, don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to scan the shit out of that house. You'd have to take the walls apart. There's probably listening devices inside the walls. Like, who knows? If this was like really an intelligence
there's so
operation, yeah, they probably had that house fully wired.
Apply that model to Diddy's operation. Federal prosecutors allege he had hidden cameras recording at his properties. Commentators, including Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal, both of whom have discussed the Diddy orbit in detail for years, have alleged that the footage was not just for personal use. It was leverage, insurance, a way to keep powerful people obedient and silent without ever needing to make an explicit threat. You don't need to threaten someone who knows you have footage of them. The footage does the threatening. Forever. This is the mechanism. This is how the silence works. This is why certain names never get questioned, no matter what the noise level is around them. The question Rogan poses is the one that matters most. Was Diddy working with someone above him, operating as a facilitated node in a larger, intelligence-style operation? Or did he build this himself and simply get too far out there to control? Either answer is disturbing, but one of them is significantly more disturbing than the other. Now here's the element of this story that the mainstream press has been almost completely silent on. And the silence is notable, because this name is in a court filing. Sir Lucian Grainge, CEO of Universal Music Group since 2010, the parent company of virtually every major label Diddy ever worked with, one of the most powerful men in the global music and entertainment industry. In the Little Rod lawsuit, a civil action filed against Diddy and associated parties, Lucian Grainge is named directly alongside Universal Music Group. The lawsuit alleges that Grainge did not simply know about Diddy's parties. According to the filing, he attended them, multiple times, at Diddy's Los Angeles property. The lawsuit further alleges that at these parties there were explicit workers present and underage girls. And it alleges that Grainge knew or should have known that guests were being drugged, specifically through laced bottles of DeLeon tequila and Ciroc vodka, Diddy's own alcohol brands. These are allegations in a civil lawsuit. They have not been proven in court. Grainge has not been criminally charged. We present them exactly as they appear in the court filing, as allegations. But here's the question Candace Owens raised publicly, and it is a legitimate question regardless of your feelings about her. If Lucian Grainge is one of the most powerful men in Hollywood and music, a man who controls what gets promoted, what gets buried, what gets covered, and what gets ignored, does his alleged presence in that lawsuit explain why this story has received a fraction of the mainstream coverage that the Diddy charges warrant?
I never thought these words would come out my mouth, but Candace Owens is onto something, and that did not feel comfortable at all. So Candace says the reason mainstream news is not picking up this lawsuit, is not paying attention to Diddy at all, is because of this man right here, Lucian Grainge. He is one of the most powerful men in Hollywood and music. And he been up in Diddy's room. So this man right here is Sir Lucian Charles Grainge. He's been the CEO of Universal Music Group since 2010, so you know he done seen some shit. So I had to go to the damn documents. I had to see if this man was actually named, and he is. As you can see, it says Lucian Charles Grainge, and it also says Universal Music Group. On top of that, it says Ethiopia. I cannot fuck up her last name. I refuse to. But she was also a big person in Universal Music Group. And then Christina Coramham, Lord forgive me, but she was like Diddy's second hand. And here on page 4, they are all listed by name and picture and description. So this is messed up. So if you go down to page 28 of the lawsuit, everything is up in this bad boy. So let me just read a little bit and you can pause to read the rest. Defendant Grainge sponsored and attended several Love album listening parties at Mr. Combs' home in Los Angeles, California. These parties were sponsored by defendants Mr. LR, which I don't know who that is, and UMG, which is Universal Music Group. As evidence above, the parties had ex-workers, I can't say the word, and underage girls present. During these parties, defendant Grainge knew or should have known Mr. Combs was drugging the attendees through laced bottles of Dalan tequila and Ciroc vodka. He was using his own shit. Baby, this is bad. Baby, I found tea at the bottom. So if you read this little note at the bottom, it will tell you why UNG removed their music from TikTok and who is actually to blame. I just want to throw that. Baby, there are more pages you can pause to read, but basically it's that this man knew about all the parties. This man was around all of this. This man never stopped anything. This man, nor Christina, nor Ethiopia had stopped anything that was happening. They let Diddy run wild. And that's why they are being mentioned in this lawsuit. And I guess this is why people are not making it bigger than social media, because I have not really seen this lawsuit in mainstream media like Fox, like CNN, none of that stuff really. But baby, this is getting bigger.
Also named in the lawsuit alongside Grainge are Ethiopia Habtemariam and Christina Karam from Universal Music Group. According to the filing, they were present. They allegedly saw what was happening, and they did not stop it. Major label CEOs hold the money. They decide which problems are worth protecting, because those problems generate billions of dollars. And in an industry built on financial protection, information is the most valuable asset of all. Joe Rogan has talked about this repeatedly. High-level elites do not handle their own problems directly. They employ fixers, lawyers, PR firms, entire teams whose sole function is to make stories disappear before they reach daylight. One name worth understanding in this context is Alan Grubman, a power attorney who has represented clients ranging from Diddy to Bruce Springsteen to dozens of major label executives. These are the people who write the NDAs that keep victims silent for 20 and 30 years. They hold secrets across the entire industry simultaneously. They operate above the visible power structure because they control information. And in this world, information is the ultimate currency. If they decide your story doesn't get told, it doesn't get told. This is the architecture of silence that Rogan is describing. Not a conspiracy requiring coordination between hundreds of people. A system that functions through financial incentive, legal threat, and the quiet understanding that certain information, if released, damages everyone simultaneously. That mutual destruction principle is what keeps it running, not loyalty, not friendship. Mutually assured exposure. When Diddy's legal situation exploded publicly, one name appeared almost immediately in a context that raised significant questions. Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's personal attorney, reportedly began appearing in the orbit of Diddy's legal proceedings. Jay-Z and Diddy's relationship is documented across decades. That is not in dispute. What the internet has been loudly asking is what that relationship means in the current context. What Jay-Z knew when he knew it. What his sustained public silence represents. Jaguar Wright appeared on Piers Morgan's show and made claims she described as things she was not supposed to say publicly. She used strong language, calling both Diddy and Jay-Z monsters, describing their combined influence as something that has been crushing the industry for decades. According to multiple accounts, the episode became extremely difficult to find online very shortly after it aired. Jay-Z has never directly addressed the growing body of public questions about his relationship with Diddy and what he knew about Diddy's operation. In the current climate, that silence does not read as neutral. It reads as a deliberate choice. The uncomfortable question Rogan raises about J-Lo applies equally here. If you were that close for that long, where was the alarm? Either you didn't know, which many people find increasingly difficult to believe, or you knew something and stayed quiet. And if you stayed quiet, why? Elon Musk brought up Jennifer Lopez during his conversation with Joe Rogan, and the framing was precise. This was not a political point. It was a credibility test. J-Lo and Diddy dated. They were together publicly for years. They were at events together, parties together, in the same spaces constantly throughout that period. Elon's question was simple and brutal. In all those years of proximity, how many people did she warn? How many red flags did she raise publicly? 0. Now, we need to be precise. Proximity is not guilt. Being close to someone who is later revealed to be a predator does not make you complicit. People are deceived by charming, powerful abusers all the time. That is documented human psychology. But the question Elon and Rogan are raising is not about guilt. It is about credibility. And it is a legitimate question that applies to everyone in Diddy's documented inner circle. The answer to that question, for J-Lo, for Jay-Z, for every name that keeps appearing in proximity to this operation, shapes how we understand who knew what and when. Let's talk about what federal agents reportedly seized, because this is the element that allegedly has powerful people in a state of genuine panic right now. Federal raids on Diddy's properties reportedly produced thousands of hours of recorded footage. Not clips, thousands of hours. Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal have both alleged publicly that this footage was not casual documentation of parties. According to their accounts, presented here as unverified claims, the footage was systematically collected for leverage purposes, insurance against the powerful people who attended. And both have suggested that footage is currently being moved, examined, and that its potential release is causing significant anxiety among people who believe they may appear on it. Megyn Kelly raised a point that cuts through a lot of the noise cleanly. Diddy is not being charged for the hotel hallway assault of Cassie Ventura, the footage of which was seen by millions of people worldwide. If the federal government is not pursuing charges on something the entire world watched happen on video, what does that tell you about what else they are, or are not, pursuing? And why? That question does not have a clean answer, but it is worth sitting with. This is the name that surprises people the most. Because if the influence of this network reaches religious institutions, this stops being a celebrity problem and becomes something far larger. Bishop T.D. Jakes, one of the most prominent religious figures in America, millions of followers, global platform, a reputation built on spiritual authority. 50 Cent's documentary The Reckoning contains what many viewers describe as deliberately strategic editing. T.D. Jakes' image appearing specifically during sections discussing Diddy's party culture. Online consensus is that this was not accidental. The belief is that 50 was sending a coded message. What follows are unverified allegations made publicly by named individuals. T.D. Jakes has not been charged with any crime. Jaguar Wright has alleged that T.D. Jakes attended Diddy's party events. She described these environments as leverage zones, places where compromising footage gets collected on powerful people and used to ensure their continued silence and cooperation. Gene Deal raised a question that many people found difficult to dismiss. Why would a respected religious leader be in proximity to environments that have been described the way Diddy's parties have been described? His answer, framed as speculation, was that presence at those parties, for someone in Jake's position, could only serve one of two purposes: business or access. Gene Deal said, "When I grew up in the church, the sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. It's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party unless it's in a business atmosphere." When T.D. Jakes was publicly confronted about the allegations, his response did not land as a clean denial. He said, "Keep it moving." He then made a comment about repentance having the power to cover sins, and then added that he didn't even need to repent about this. To most people listening, that sequence of statements did not sound like confidence. It sounded like deflection. And in the current climate, deflection from a figure with this level of spiritual authority lands very differently than it might have 5 years ago. Cat Williams, who has been more accurate than almost anyone about what was coming in this industry, said it directly before any of this broke publicly.
All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. T.G. Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light.
I need to have another one of these.
Amen, amen.
Gee.
Let's put the full structure on the table. Because when you lay it out clearly, it stops looking like a collection of separate scandals and starts looking like a single interconnected system. At the operational level, Diddy, the documented predator, the parties, the footage, the federal charges. One level up, the financial infrastructure. Universal Music Group, Lucian Grainge, named in the Little Rod lawsuit. The label system that provided cover, funding, and protection for decades in exchange for the billions of dollars the operation generated. These are the people who decide what gets covered and what gets buried, and who have every financial incentive to ensure that certain stories never see daylight. Above that, the gatekeepers. Jay-Z, whose documented proximity and whose attorney's appearance in the legal proceedings raises questions that have not been answered. Oprah Winfrey, whose documented connections to convicted predators Harvey Weinstein and John of God form a pattern that demands honest examination. Clive Davis, Diddy's mentor and documented professional partner, whose name keeps appearing in conversations about how Diddy built his power and why he was protected for so long. And at the top, in the framework that 50 Cent, Jaguar Wright, and others have been publicly building, the hidden name, the one that allegedly ties the financial, entertainment, political, and religious threads together. The one that Rogan suggests may be connected not just to Diddy's footage, but to Epstein's client list. Dave Chappelle described this system years ago. Not the specific names, the structure.
They gave me a raw deal because this fucking industry is a monster. It's the same monster that these Me Too bitches was trying to tell you about. But they hate the monster for how it fucks. And I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster. When I quit the show, all my friends would say, well, fuck them, Dave. Why don't you just do Chappelle's show at another network? Yeah. And why doesn't a slave run from one plantation to another plantation? Because the master over there might be nicer. My God, man,
If someone with Dave Chappelle's talent, wealth, and cultural standing felt completely boxed in, what does that say about what the machine does to everyone else trying to survive inside it? Here is where we land. The documented facts are these. Diddy faces federal charges for sex trafficking and racketeering. Over 120 accusers, 25 minors, thousands of hours of seized footage. A civil lawsuit naming the CEO of Universal Music Group. A federal investigation with subpoena power reaching into the financial records of some of the most powerful people in entertainment. The unverified allegations, the pyramid, the connections above Diddy, the footage panic, the names from T.D. Jakes to Jay-Z to Lucian Grainge, we have been clear about their status throughout. They are allegations made publicly by named individuals. They are not proven. They will be tested, in courts, in depositions, in whatever eventually emerges from the federal proceedings. But the pattern Joe Rogan identified is real. It is documented. Epstein fell and took no one with him. Maxwell fell and took no one with her. The question hanging over this entire story is whether Diddy breaks the pattern, or whether he becomes the third data point in a sequence that tells us the system protecting the people above him is simply too powerful to penetrate. That question doesn't have an answer yet, but the fact that it's being asked out loud on the biggest podcast in the world by the owner of one of the biggest platforms in the world means the walls are moving in ways they haven't moved before. Stay tuned. Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.